Alrighty, everyone, welcome to a new program offered by You Define Wellness. This is, hold on, don't you just love a party foul? This is live, obviously, we're recording and we do it in one take. Welcome to a new program offered by You Define Wellness. This is Dimensions of Well-Being. And one of the reasons why we're doing it is we talk a lot at You Define Wellness about different dimensions. I don't like the phrase work-life balance, so we don't use that. We talk about life harmony, and in life harmony, it's covering so many different dimensions. And one of the beautiful things that I have available to me are experts. Experts from the You Define Wellness who can come in and talk about it, because if you know anything about my history, I'm a reformed insurance agent, guys. I'm not the expert on it. So I rely on these folks in our network to help provide the guidance that you're looking for out there. So we're delighted to introduce this new series and hope that you're going to enjoy it. And to kick it off, I have somebody who I am just delighted that he was the one to say, yes, I want to be the first. And that is Ed Bostick, owner of Ed Bostick Hypnotherapy. And it does so much more to that. Ed, thank you very much for joining me today.
Hey, thanks, Denise. I'm really looking forward. I think it's going to be a fun ride.
I think it's going to be a really fun ride.
Yeah.
So one of the ways I always like to kick these off is to learn a little bit more about you. And I could read a bio. Nope, I don't like doing that. Why don't you tell us about what it is that you do?
Okay. What I do is work with clients and groups and teams of individuals and their sponsors, and help them understand and be able to be prepared for the moment. And being in the moment, I think, is probably the most critical thing that we can do, rather than even planning ahead or reminiscing backwards or anything like that. I think it's just being in the moment. And then that comes with auto self-regulation, if you will. So my approach would be a neurophysiological approach to self-regulation in the moment. Okay. And I know we hear all sorts of things about in the moment philosophically and everything else, but that's really how our body works. That's how our brain works. That's how our mind works, our nervous system and everything else in the moment. Yeah. And I
want to stop you right there real quick, because I want this absolutely to be a dialogue between us. And I'm just going to say something. Out of all the times you and I have had conversations, I don't think I've ever heard you use that phrase that you work with people to be in the moment. And that's really important, because we live in our heads. We are planning for the next thing that's coming along, whether it be the kids' graduation or the vacation or dinner that night. We don't live in the moment. Why is that important to do?
Well, I think it's interesting that you said we don't live, and you really emphasize that in the moment. And really that's what's happening. We're not living in the moment. We're preparing for the future, just like you were saying, or we're reminiscing or looking back with retribution or regret or something like that. And so our nervous system is actually running the show for that.
The nervous system is, explain that a little bit more.
Okay, well, Stephen Porges has written lots on polyvagal theory. In fact, he is the originator of that term. And the vagus nerve, which runs from our gut up through our heart and up to our cranium, it's essentially a cranial nerve, then is designed to help us survive in the moment. And the polyvagal theory takes in the idea of evolution when we were essentially mammals and we had this mammalian response to things. And then as we emerged into the human beings that we are, we adapted with our central nervous system to be able to take in, for instance, afferent information upwards from the heart. One of the things that we do as cues is we look at people's faces. We listen to their voices. We understand their gestures. And this social engagement then is being able to live in the moment, not in some predetermined aspect of the moment.
So let's talk for a minute about the dimensions of well-being, because you said a word that triggered me and but I need to lead up to it. So
Sure.
For those who are watching this, if you don't understand what the dimensions of well-being are, it is all a part of what we are. And at You Define Wellness, we say that there are 8 dimensions. There are others out there who will use 3. There's some I've seen that are 12. There's 14. There could be many, but we focus on 8. Those 8 are physical, emotional, financial, spiritual, social, intellectual, occupational, and environmental. So, and there's different components with them, such as with physical could be both, fitness, nutrition, 2 big categories within one category. So you made a comment about social, and most people, when they hear social dimension, they're thinking, oh, party time, getting together with friends. You just gave us a different definition of it.
Yeah. Again, I wish this was my original thought, but it's not. But the latest research is showing that neurophysiological approaches into the dimensions, whatever those dimensions are, social, physical, financial, or whatever else, is a way to better serve us in the moment. Rather than taking other kinds of approaches that have, been tried and true and tested, but don't seem to work, especially right now in the environment that we're in, especially with COVID, the isolation, getting back to normalcy, whatever that was beforehand, and all of those things. So that coupled with heart rate variability, that is our ability to self-regulate our bodies. Then when we put those 2 notions together, really, I think, form a powerful duo there. And when you add the 3rd dimension of being in the moment, because the research is starting to show that we don't have the neural synapses that we thought we did. We don't have any of those kinds of things. It's actually electromagnetic creations in the moment. So those behaviors that we thought were kind of ingrained in our body and everything are not necessarily so. What's really happening in our body is all of these factors are coming together, especially through the vagus nerve and that evolutionary and the heart rate variability to create the moment for us. And that gives us real hope into self-regulation.
You're the first person that I will put in the mental health category that has discussed the vagus nerve. Normally it's being talked about from our health coaches, focusing on the nutrition and how important it is that what you put the fuel into your body, that is really important for the vagus nerve, and that's where everything starts. So you're actually saying it's also a real key component of the mental health side.
Yes, and if we want to call it mental fitness, I'm happy with that. I don't really know what mental health means. But the mental fitness, I have an idea. That means we're able to deal in ways that serve us and those around us in the moment in the best way. And really, that's affect regulation. We've been talking about self-regulation and affect regulation for years as well. So that's just another way to frame that.
So what are some of the tools that people can use? What do you use with your clients to help regulate this mental fitness?
Well, what I would say is what polyvagal theory is and what it isn't.
Okay.
And so polyvagal theory is based on the idea that evolutionarily we created in our ability to listen to have social engagement through our middle ears, through our middle ear bones, and that's attenuated by the muscles in our ears. And so the approach to this would be able to help learn how to hear the more prosodic voices that we have around us, and not necessarily hear, and I'll put quotes around that, the danger signals around us, being able to really focus on those things that help us for our survival rather than contribute to our hiding and our fear and our withdrawal. And so in polyvagal theory, then what we do is through the sound, safe and sound protocol, we get accustomed to hearing the more melodic, prosodic voices, and being able to look at people's faces, especially from the nose up.
Oh, so masks are no problems.
Right. No problem whatsoever. Yeah, from the nose. Okay, about there. Yeah. And so when you put that together with heart rate variability, that means the amount of space, again, I'm using quotation here, of between our heartbeats that gives us the resources we need to respond in the moment.
Okay. So I know you use a variety of, I'm going to call them tools and techniques to help your clients achieve all of this. What are some of those?
Well, I rely a lot on trauma-based approaches, especially from people like Pat Ogden, who I trained with. Really known that in order to work through traumatic episodes in one's life, or a continual series of episodes, one really needs to be in touch with the body. And of course, that is somatic therapy. And being able to identify those places in our body then, and then being coached or coaxed through to the point of what Pat would refer to as the moment of triumph, where you can get past this. And so that's one of my approaches.
Okay. So I know you do hypnotherapy. Do you also incorporate that into it? And then we've also talked a little bit about heart math. Is it the heart math itself that you are integrating in?
Sure. Yeah. So hypnotherapy, I just weave into the session or to the conversation. I don't necessarily sit people down and have them change their brainwave states like I used to.
And you've evolved your practice.
Get them to theta, but that's not the point anymore. The point is to be able to have them tap in to that energy, that information that's coming up through the vagal and being distributed up to the cranial nerves through the afferent heart beats. So that's much more my approach for hypnotherapy. I still do hypnotherapy, but not in the way that was a classical hypnotherapy. It's much more in the moment, again, as the client leads me. Yeah.
And I describe, I call these tools and techniques that the practitioner will have a variety of tools available to them to pull out the one that is appropriate in the moment with that particular client. So it's not necessarily, okay, I'm introduced you as Ed Bostick Hypnotherapy because that's how I originally met you. Right. You do NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, you do the hypnotherapy, you do the heart math, you do whatever it is that client is particularly needing. And as the expert, you know which one to use.
Hopefully I do. Hopefully I sense that. And usually my client guides me there. But for instance, neuro-linguistic programming, I think has real merit when you're talking about your relationship to the other. And so when we're talking about, for instance, perceptual positions, how do I perceive myself in relation to this person or to this event and those kinds of things? I use that neuro-linguistic programming. A lot of that came from Connie Ray Andreas and Steve Andreas in Boulder, who I trained with as well. And I think that's very, very effective for people who are trying to get some sort of grounding
Mhm.
some sense of where they are in relation to things that they see or experience outside themselves.
I think that's huge, particularly after the year and a half, almost 2 years that we've come through here, that there are a lot of people who are questioning, why am I here?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to be doing? I mean, there's got to be more to life. Those are the people that are great to come to you as clients, correct?
Yes. Yes. And can I just read you something? It's
Sure.
short. I know that reading isn't, or hearing somebody read isn't anxiety, but this is from The Art of War, Sun Tzu. And if we think about the general in terms of a metaphor, listen how this might fit in.
Okay.
A general with only one body and one heart leads 1,000,000 troops to face fierce enemies. Gain and loss, victory and defeat are intermixed. Strategy and intelligence change 10,000 times. And this is placed in the general's chest. So unless your heart is wide open and your mind is orderly, you cannot be expected to be able to adapt responsibly without limit, dealing with events unerringly, facing great and unexpected difficulties without upset, calmly handling everything without confusion.
Oh, I love that.
I know, it's pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Powerful, powerful writing. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yeah.
Because, that is, we as a society, we have been called on to do things that we have never been trained in life to do, right? In the last 2 years, particularly, not even 2 years yet. And that is awesome. It just really opens up the fact that we need the training and how to adapt to things. And the tools are already out there. We just didn't know that they existed, or we didn't know people like you could help guide us to it.
Yeah. And if we think of the general metaphorically as our essence, what
Yeah.
do we come onto this planet with? What do we bring that is so wonderful, that has a purpose? It was necessary for whatever brought it into existence. It was necessary to be there. That's our purpose, our essence. And so when we get to the heart of the matter, that's where I think we understand where we are. And we have to be able to be that in the moment, not with all the other chatter and clutter and confinement and all of those other kinds of things that we're dealing with. We have to get to the heart of the matter. And so what I do to bring all this kind of together is I have a little ritual that I think is somewhat hypnotic, but it's also, I think, really helps us tap into our inner wisdom, our essence, what Sun Tzu might refer to as our general, and what math people might refer to as heart rate variability, and what Stephen Porges would refer to it as our afferent information going up to our cranial nerve, being heard by our middle ear bone, attenuated by our muscles. And so if I can just take a moment and just invite you to sit back for a moment and just breathe a little bit deeper and longer than usual for about 3 breaths. And now place your dominant hand over your heart. And in your heart of hearts, ask yourself, my heart, what do you want me to know? My heart,
My heart, my heart. What do you want me to know?
my heart, where do you want me to go? My heart, show me the place.
Show me.
My heart, take me there now. And just notice what you notice. Just being in the moment. Sitting. So credit where credit's due. A lot of that's from Greg Braden, Joe Dispenza, the Heart Math Institute, Stephen Porges. I've kind of put them all together because I'm able to see connections that are most people don't. However, I can't delineate between anything. So that's the upside of the downside of that.
Oh no, I love it. So I told you this time is going to go really fast, and we are at
It's
time.
over.
But I always like to give the person who I'm talking to an opportunity for any final thoughts that they have that they wanted to cover that we have not yet.
Oh, well, really, I would just say that that our thoughts, our behaviors, our feelings, even our pain sensations, our exhilaration and everything else are being created in the moment. They're not necessarily neurons that are firing together and wiring together like we used to think. They're not these synapses. They're not those things. It is the culmination of the entire thing. And body is the approach in for that.
That's awesome. So for those who are watching this as a recording, you can reach out to Ed. Go to our website at udefinewellness.com and go to the Wellness Center. Search for his name and you will find his information on our website, his profile, a store. You'll learn about his services. You reach out to him absolutely if you feel that he can assist you in any way. And while you're at the Udefine Wellness store, take a look at the newest offering that we have available. Search for the Dimensions of Well-Being Journal. It is a new tool that we have available for you that will help guide you through. It's a journal. And so it's going to help guide you through the different dimensions with writing prompts and places for gratitudes and wonderful words of inspiration and advice from many of the Udefine Wellness Network providers. So with that being said, Ed, thank you very much for doing this with me today.
You bet. And that journal's going to be on Amazon. Is that correct?
It will be on Amazon.
Okay.
Hopefully by the time this video is uploaded to YouTube, it'll be on Amazon, but you will be searching for the Dimensions of Wellbeing Journal. That's how you get a hard copy. On our website. You can get a PDF. So
okay.
We look forward to getting that out to everyone, but thanks for doing this with me today. I appreciate it.
Blessings.